Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Rovers Report, where you join me from my bedroom. Always a professional setup here at the Rovers Report. I've been kicked out by my housemates from my office slash living room. So yeah, if you're wondering about the backdrop, then I am indeed sat on my bed. I can see you laughing there, Tom. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. How you doing?
Yeah, all right, mate. If I look a bit tired as well, I've just cycled back from work. But we thought we'd bring you guys a midweek roundup. Obviously, it's the January transfer window, and we've got Cambridge coming up this weekend. It's been quite a quiet week actually for Rovers. There's been a couple of players that have been linked to us very tenuously, and obviously a little bit in regards to Alfie Kilgour potentially leaving the club. I guess if we start with that, mate. I think Sam Frost put out an article saying that Mansfield, Exeter, and was it Colchester, the other club that
It
looked,
was, yeah.
yeah, that looked to be interested in him. First reactions on that for me, I was surprised at Exeter. I'll be honest. I think he's definitely proved himself in League Two, but whether he has the ability to go and play at another League One club, I know they play a bit of a different style of football to us. I don't think they employ that three at the back. I could be wrong there. But yeah. What have you got? What have you
I
got to
think
say?
they did against us
Okay.
last week. They played three at the back. I think it was Sweeney. Was it Hartridge? I can't remember the other centre half. Um, I've always said, that Kilgour's better playing in a three. But I feel like he needs a sort of a leader next to him. So I don't really think I know Sweeney's fairly senior, but I'm not necessarily sure that'd be a great move for him. I'm not sure how often he'd actually start at Exeter.
Mm,
Obviously, with the historic links with Coughlin, I guess a lot of Rose fans are probably pushing for him to go to Newport. I'm kind of surprised that they haven't been linked, to be honest. But I think, excuse me, I think out of the others, it would make more sense to go to sort of a promotion chasing League Two side in the sort of form of Mansfield, I think.
mm. Yeah, I guess it's a weird one, isn't it? Because I think if Joey Barton wasn't so set in his ways, it is a good and a bad thing at the same time. You might actually say, look, he's a good squad player, and that might be what someone like Exeter's thinking is, okay, if we can get him on the cheap, he's still got quite a bit of potential about him. He has performed at League One before, under Coughlin when we were pushing up the league. Um, and yeah, he's not a bad defender by any means. I think just because Barton's clearly going in one direction, he's got tunnel vision about that, and he's sort of dismissed Kilgour. Then that might be a reason why he's not involved with us. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him go to an Exeter. Potentially be that squad player, and when called upon, deliver for them. Like you said, that if I was in his position, having sat out for so long, be it through injury or tactical decisions, I'd be looking to go somewhere and get minutes under my belt. Mansfield seems like an obvious fit, doesn't it? I couldn't really comment on the Colchester link, but yeah, another interesting thing I saw actually is that he's got 6 months left on his contract, but we're still looking to recuperate a fee for him. I'd just be curious what sort of fee you think we could command. For me, I wouldn't think it'd be much. Well, definitely not three-figure, six-figure sum. But yeah, what would you
I
think?
think it would be the sort of fee. Sure, I think surely it would be the sort of fee that sort of is equivalent to paying up the rest of his contract.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I'm gonna say maybe he's on 1 or 2 grand a week, sort of in the 25 to 50 grand range, just to pay up the rest of that contract.
Hmm.
I think that's normally the formality of the way it's done in terms of those sorts of transfers. Obviously, I'm not too privy on that, but that would be my idea.
Yeah.
Sort of in like the I guess 5 figure range.
Yeah, I think we paid. I think it was what I think it was a low six-figure sum for Connolly in the summer, was it? And you look at those two defenders with the potential ability in the future, and yeah, he's not going to be above six figures. I wouldn't imagine. That's no discredit to him. Good defender in his own right, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what develops with that one because because his contract's so short in comparison to when you've looked in the past at players like Carl Bennett or even Westbrook. I think he's going to be going out the door fairly soon. Just I know a little weird one which you sent me over today actually, which maybe I don't know if other people have seen it. Just to flag it is that Sean Morrison is Is it released by Cardiff, or is he at the end of his contract just
I
gonna?
believe so. He was on I think, pay as you play or one of those sorts of deals because he had a really nasty injury
Hmm.
to his knee around this time last year. And I think I think he was out of contract in the summer, but they brought him back on a sort of pay as you play sort of basis. And as of today, he's no longer Cardiff City player.
Hmm.
Obviously, still only 31, but I think it was quite a serious injury. So um, obviously, I think a step down to League One would be the natural move.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Would you be interested in him if, in a hypothetical scenario that he wanted to come to Rovers? It's, geographically makes a lot of sense if he's based in
Yeah,
South Wales.
see, that's a good bit of scouting from you, actually, mate. Because that completely it missed me, but yeah, having seen it now from you flagging it to me, I think his credentials as a defender would certainly add to our squad in terms of ability. I did say to you actually that was it him that was involved in that horrible video where he was taking the piss out of someone in the showers, wasn't he? I think. But
Yeah,
sorry,
It was Richard Keir. No, was it Richard Keir?
it was in the back of a car. I feel like I remember it doing the
Yeah,
rounds
it was
on
Richard
Twitter.
Keir. Yeah, yeah.
But
I think
yeah. So
I'm not sure what's happening now.
he might not be the nicest of blokes, but obviously with Joey Barton, I think if your attitude's right when it comes to football, then he doesn't seem to mind too much. I don't. Yeah, I
I think
think.
he'd be the ideal centre half in the middle of the three, to be honest. I mentioned Curtis Nelson and Kevin Long, and Sod's Law meant that they've both been linked with other clubs
Yeah.
in the last sort of 24 hours or so. I think Curtis Nelson's off to Derby, and Kevin Long has been linked with Aberdeen and Hibs. So good luck to him if he ends up with Lee Johnson. But yeah, I think you know Morrison certainly can play out from the back, but also he's a bit of an old-fashioned centre half in the sense that he's big, physical, and imposing, and also a threat in attacking set pieces.
Mm.
I think he scored 7 goals in their promotion season from the Championship, albeit that was 5 years ago. And he was a threat when they were in the Premier League as well. I'm pretty sure they've played him up front sometimes, which is maybe not a good sign for if they were sort of 1-0 down in the last minute, but he's definitely an imposing threat in the opposition box.
Yes,
Whilst being a solid centre half.
it's as you said, isn't it, mate? He does fit the profile. I think, as you alluded to there with Nelson, and Barton's touched on this as well. I think it's just going to be a waiting game for Rovers because we see all these names that we potentially want and would desire to have within the squad early on in the January transfer window. Same in the summer, and then you see them get tapped up by bigger clubs than us. The likes of Derby, Hibs. That's a weird one. I'm not going to get into that debate as to who's a bigger club there, but you know what I mean. It's sort of these players. I imagine they'll be sitting down with their agents, assessing their options, and we've got to be realistic. I think for a lot of these players, we'll be low down the list. So hence why Barton says, when it comes to the final week and couple of days of the window, these players then will go, okay, shit, these are the options I've got. So yeah, again, I wouldn't be surprised if we do our business late in the window. What was the other player that you flagged to me actually, mate? Was he at Northampton this season? I forgot his name. It's poor for me. I should know that.
Mark,
But
Mark Leonard, isn't it? I
Mark
believe.
Leonard, that's the one. On loan from Brighton, I think,
So
wasn't
on loan from Brighton, yeah. Well, I think we've inquired for him. I think he's been playing really well for Northampton. Sort of, I think it plays a bit like Sam Finley in terms of just being a natural midfielder, but perhaps with a slight attacking bias. Scotland, I think under 21 international. We're not the only club to be linked with him in our league. I think FGR and Morecambe have both been linked with him as well, as have maybe a couple of Championship clubs, if I read correctly. So, obviously that would be sort of fit the mold of the player that I was talking about the other day in terms of a Premier League under 23. I know he's been playing out on loan in League Two, but an under 23 player from a Premier League club coming to sort of provide some depth in midfield, especially with Roster being injured
he?
over the next couple of months.
It's always hard, isn't it, with an under 23 player coming from the Prem or the Champ because it can be really hit or miss. I think I can't remember his name. I know that you mentioned it in a video, and Sam Frost had it on the looking back at the last 5 windows. He played for Reading. Is it Osho or Osh? Do you remember the?
Gabriel Osho.
Yeah,
Osho.
that's the one.
Yeah.
So he was obviously, well, not terrible for us, but didn't feature at all. And then you look at the likes of Lewis Gordon, who we've got, who never played a minute of men's football, and he's coming in and acclimatised really well. So, once again, I trust Barton in these dealings, but yeah, it can be a bit of a lottery, can't it? The under-23 players.
It can be, and speaking of under 23 players that have made a huge impact on the club, I see Elliot Anderson on a side note has been linked to Birmingham City. So, no chance of the dream comeback um, to Rovers, but I think he'd do very well there if that materialises.
Yeah, yeah. Just daydreaming a bit here, mate. What do you think would happen if he came back to? Do you think that would be sort of putting us very clearly in the playoffs, or do you think we'd still have to work very hard to get in there?
I think he'd have a similar effect to last season. Yeah, I think he would definitely push us towards the playoffs,
Where do you think he'd get
albeit
got in? Who would come out?
uh, it's weird, isn't it? Because we played 4-3-3 for the whole of last season, yet we seem to be sort of um, moving towards the 3-4-3. So whether he plays behind the two strikers and then we play Collins up top with Coburn, or he plays in midfield,
Can you imagine
maybe
that, mate?
replaces.
Front three of Collins, Coburn, and Elliot Anderson.
Don't get me excited, mate. It's a great, that would be hypothetically unbelievable, but
It's not gonna happen, is
well,
it?
not hypothetically unbelievable, but it would be certainly be a dream,
Mm.
sort of. But yeah, it seems like he's off to Small Heath.
Yeah, I think that probably wraps up the sort of transfer talk for this week, mate. If you guys have got anyone that you've spotted, either that's been linked with us and we've missed, or players that you think we should turn our attention to, whack it in the comments. And over the next few days, we'll cover that and have a look into it. Um, I guess the final thing to sort of cover, mate, is the game against Cambridge this weekend. That they're not in particularly good form. I think they lost 5-0 to Sheffield Wednesday last weekend. You've got a few stats, haven't you, mate, that just sort of give us a picture of them at the minute.
Yes, so they are. I think that they've got the third worst expected goals against this season. So obviously with our attack, we should be looking to score 2 or 3 against them. I guess we'll go through predictions at the end.
Mhm.
That being said, they are pretty good at home. They've won 5 out of 12, a lot better than their away record, which is won 2 out of 12. Um, their sort of main attacking threats, I think, come from Sam Smith, who's their top scorer, and also Harvey Nibbs, who I believe has been linked with Argyle and some Championship clubs.
Great
Pretty
name.
versatile attacker. He's a great name. Um, so yeah, they do have an attacking threat. It would be interesting to see how we line up. But I'd be tempted to go with an attacking bias like we have done recently.
Mm.
Funnily enough, I was going through their stats, mate. We're not actually in the top 5 in terms of expected goals against, which is surprising. Just comes to show how many mistakes we're actually making,
Mm.
such as the one against Cheltenham on the weekend. So yeah, I think on sort of face value, we should be beating Cambridge quite comfortably, I think. But
Yes.
um, yeah, it's never easy, is it, with Rovers?
It is a cliche, isn't it? There's no easy game. You can sort of apply that to any league. You hear managers say in League Two, "Oh, there's no easy game in League Two," and then you'll hear Jurgen Klopp say it in the Prem. But it is true. Yeah, I agree with you. I'd like to see Joey go out all guns blazing. You know, we've got one of the best attacks in the league, and they've got one of the worst defenses. So you think there should be goals. Um, and I think an ex-Gas player is in their ranks, isn't he? George Williams, which is yes, he
Yeah,
was a weird one actually at Rovers because I think Tisdale
yeah,
bought
it
him, didn't
was.
he? And
Yeah.
that was a January transfer, and it's I don't remember him doing anything particularly wrong, but unfortunately he was sort of placed in amongst that terrible squad that we had that year. It's
Mm.
interesting that I think Cambridge, they had a good spell last season, I think, didn't they? And he obviously was a part of that. So he's obviously a decent player, but doesn't really stand out for me. And it'll be interesting to see how he gets on against Collins, Coburn, and Evans this weekend. Yeah, just quickly before we head off, mate, if we do our team predictions and then our score predictions for the game.
Oh, I mean, it's a hard one with team predictions because we do like to mix it up. I think we're probably going to go 4-3-3. Excuse me, I can see that with Belcher on goal. I think it's time for Gibbons to start again at right back. Thomas and Connolly, because I can imagine Gibson might be injured with his thigh. On left back, then Finley, Coots, and Evans in midfield. Collins on the, I'd say left. Oh, Sinclair on the left, Collins on the right. Although that's sort of, I guess they'll be playing sort of in a fluid formation, and Coburn up top.
Yeah, I think that's probably fairly accurate. If Gibson's injured, I would agree with that. If he's not, I think he starts, and you probably sacrifice. I'm not sure you sacrifice there, to be honest, but yeah, I think if Gibson's fit, he obviously wants to have that continuity with this formation and the personnel. So I think if he is fit, we'll probably go with the three at the back. You guys make sure you let us know what formation and what players you think will be in that squad. And then finally, mate, predictions.
Prediction for result, I think it will be. I'm not going to say a domination from Rovers, but I feel like we are the favourites, and I think it'll probably be 3-1 Rovers.
Nice.
Two Collins goals and a Coburn goal again.
Perfect. Do you know what's coming into our mind for some reason? I don't know why, but it feels like a similar fixture. Do you remember was it the Stevenage game last year? Where I think did we win 4-0 in that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just something about the game. I feel like, it's the new year. It's a relatively, I'm probably going to regret saying this, but an easier opponent. And I feel like this is going to really kickstart a good run of form for us. So I'm not going to go 4. I'll go 3-0 to Rovers. A very rare clean sheet for us. And I'll go with Coburn hat-trick. 2 assisted by Collins and 1 assisted by Evans, I reckon. But yeah, and again,
do you remember the last time we played Cambridge? Actually, away that is.
Away? No, you'll have to jog my memory, mate.
It was. I remember they playing it on the what's called a playback at the Mem. It was I think a Tuesday night fixture, and we won in the last minute with Taylor Header, I think, something like that.
I feel like I remember Gaffer's scoring there. But
yeah, Gaffney definitely scored, I think.
In that game, was it?
I believe so, because was he even, I'm not sure whether he was
allowed to play.
Allowed to play. I can't remember because that was the same season that he came to Rovers on loan.
Yeah, maybe.
So I'm not sure, from Cambridge, obviously, so I don't know if he was not allowed to play. But yeah, I felt like we won in the last minute. I remember Taylor scoring in the last minute.
Good research from us there, isn't it?
Indeed, mate. Indeed. We can't say we don't do our homework.
All right. Well, I think that'll wrap it up. Like we said, hasn't been much transfer activity, but if there is any, then we'll cover it straight away as soon as we can. Thank you guys for watching. If you've enjoyed it, give us a like, leave your comments below, and we'll catch you later. Cheers for coming on, Tom, and I'll see you soon, mate.
Cheers, mate.